Okay, so good afternoon, all. Today, I'm going to be taking you through three key tips for computing, engineering, and media job applications, interviews, and professional conduct. I'm sure you'd like to know a bit about me before I begin, so I'll just give you a little bit of a background. Obviously, I'm Leslie and George. I promote students and early career development via mentoring young people through sharing my industry experience. I'm also a STEM ambassador. For those of you who are not familiar with STEM, that's just science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. I'm also the author of Elevate Your Essay Writing Skills, and I am the founder of EL Empire Professional Services. And this is just basically consulting with experience in running multiple workshops on academic and professional writing, employability skills, like I'm doing today, career development, and pathways for students and young professionals to achieve their visions. I'm also a senior project management professional in engineering and technology, so hence why I'm here today. I mean, I've had the privilege of interviewing and onboarding early careers in computing and engineering. Not so much media, but I've had the opportunity to pick the brains of my contacts, and I've got quite a few in media, so hopefully this should be useful to you. So some of the topics we're going to cover today, I'm going to take you through my job application journey so you get some insight of some of the challenges that you're likely to encounter, and also some of the challenges that early careers that I've dealt with have encountered as well, and how they've sort of dealt with it and solved the problem. I do have a question for you as well, so do try and engage me in the chat box, because I'd like to respond to challenges that are specific to you, just to give you solutions that work for you. We'll also go through preparing for CEM job applications that stand out. We'll go through 3 key tips for effective interview skills, and then we'll do some scenarios and best practices as well. I'll do my best to do the role play and just give you some answers so that you can work with them. And then we'll go through 3 key professional skills in academia and the workplace. And then we can just generally discuss early careers experiences. So my job application experiences. Have you ever felt as an early career or as a student that you're overwhelmed with many applications and job openings? They typically have their deadlines between February, March time for a September start. So you usually have a lot to go through. So it can be a bit overwhelming. Also knowing which CEM organization is right for you, because there's so many of them. So being able to ascertain which one is right for you to apply for. And I guess some of the challenges that you can face as well, you can come across, is managing job application processes, because it can be quite a lot. It can be quite daunting as well to know, what to do, and, whether you're given the right information at the right time. You're not quite sure of that. So I'll go through that as well. And lastly, some of the challenges that early careers and students face as well is the fear of networking, because you feel you're not confident with your communication skills, or perhaps you feel you don't have enough experience yet to be able to network or have any meaningful networks. But, this is not true, that you can actually network to go as far as you want to. So we'll cover that as well. But I'm just giving you the big picture where you want to be. You want to be able to ascertain the specific companies to target, because you don't want to apply for just any and every company or organization in CEM. You also want to know your vision and goals so that you can align them to your application, because then this brings about job satisfaction, right? This ensures that you have career development plans. This ensures that it's just along your career path based on where you see yourself. And then time management as well, to be able to phase your application processes, be it if you say you're going to set 1 hour, maybe a day, to target your applications during the application season. Perhaps it will help you to manage it rather than having a whole load of applications right at the back end, nearing the deadline. Then we'll also go through networking with industry experts, finding mentors, and making good use of the DMU careers department. Yes, you really do have to make use of your careers department at university, because it's useful. They have a pool of resources, that you can use to help you. And ideally, you just want to secure your dream job before you graduate, let's face it. So let's just go straight into it. So if you're ready for my question, you can engage me in the chat. I would just like to know what makes you feel uncomfortable about chem applications and interviews. What is it that makes you feel uneasy or uncertain about these applications? And then I will address them at the end if you pop your answers in the chat box. So, preparing for chem applications that stand out. First of all, do your research. You need to know the organization that you're applying for inside out. You need to know about the projects that they're working on. You need to be commercially aware to understand what news out there impacts what they're doing, because remember, this is leading up to your interview, and this is going to really come in handy. But you really need to just know what they engage in, and also just research about their values, their culture. Does it work for you? Then you need to highlight your experiences. The thing about chem application jobs are that they are experience heavy, task heavy. So they like to know some of the experiences that you've encountered that may be transferable or applicable to the chem roles that you are applying for example. You then need to tailor your application to each organization. We can tell when it's a copy and paste job. For example, if you're going for an engineering role in construction, and then an opening comes up for an engineering role in the energy sector, and you just copy and paste what's from construction into the energy bit, we can tell because you've not really tailored it. You've not taken the time to actually specify it for each organization, and that it's not a good look. It just means that, you're not really passionate about working for the organization. So why should you be selected if you can't, set the time aside to dedicate just a little time to tailor your application to the organization? You also need to address your points with clarity, okay? You need to be fair to the hiring managers here because they've got thousands of applications to go through, and it really helps and it makes your application stand out when you can just talk about, yourself, your experiences, the value you add, and how, you wish to contribute to the organization going forward. It's just clear and there's a smooth flow, between those points that it makes your application stand out, and it's easy to read, so it's easy to just pick out and just go through all your points. Then complement your CV and your cover letter. Let your application complement your CV and your cover letter. Some of the mistakes that we've seen from early careers is they just do different applications. The content of the application is rather different from what they have in their CV and cover letter. So it makes it confusing as to what role they're trying to go for, because they also have their personal profile section in their CV, and this completely discusses something completely different from what's in the application. So be mindful and ensure that you're complementing these three things, because chances are most applications actually ask you to upload your CV and cover letter. Not all, but some do. So you just want to make sure that they align with each other. Then you want to know your desired outcome. What is it that you want? Why are you applying for this job, and where do you see yourself? What do you want out of it? Again, this is preparing you ahead of your interview, because when you are asked, why have you applied for this job? You have the answer. Where do you want to go? Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? You know it because you already know your desired outcome. You can see the picture, the big picture at the end. This is why I also talk about the vision and the goals at the beginning. Then you want to proofread your application. Really, I can't stress this enough. There's certain applications that I've gone through, and it's just spelling mistakes, punctuation errors. Just basically, this is one thing that I cover actually in my book, Elevate Your Essay Writing Skills. It's just know yourself, okay, and the mistakes that you're likely to make. So it makes proofreading easier, even if you don't have, a lot of time to go through it, because you know your mistakes, you know what to look out for. So if you're the sort of person who makes a lot of errors when it comes to punctuation, then you know that that's what you need to look out for. If it's grammatical errors, then you know what to look out for. So it just helps you to go through your application. And you know what? That is why your careers department is there to help you and to support you. They can help you with proofreading as well. They can make suggestions, and bear in mind that they also interact with organizations. So they're able to tell you the needs of the organizations, because chances are the organizations that they've partnered with have also contacted them to say or state what kind of skills they require. So make use of them and don't leave your careers department until your final year. You can just start getting acquainted with them from your first year, your second year, and then it will be easy and a smooth transition for you in your third year rather than leaving everything last minute. So I'm just going to give you a sample structure for CEM applications, just to give you a rough idea of the content really and how you need to make your application stand out. So be specific. What job are you applying for? Uncertainty shows that you're not ready. You have some students and early careers who are like, okay, I'm applying for this, I don't know, computing role, for example. But I'm open to any other computing role because you know what, I'm just looking for a job. It's not a good look. It just means if another organization comes along and offers you a position, you're not loyal, basically. You could just go and just pick whatever comes to you because all you want is a job. But when you're focused on what you want and you have your visions and you have your goals to help you go for this job, then you most likely get the actual job that you want rather than just keeping the doors open to say anything that comes you will go for. I know sometimes when you're nearing graduation as a student and you haven't got a job, you panic and you have the tendency to just go for anything. But I think when you prepare and you deliver good applications and you specify what you want and you put everything that's in there and you have the experience to complement it as well, you should get the job that you really want. Then tell us who you are and the value you can offer. So what do you bring to the role or the team? This is one thing that's quite important because we need to know you in your application because that's how you're selected. So if we don't get a slight picture of who you are, before your interview, then you will not get to the interview stage. So just give us a taster of the kind of person that you are, the kind of work that you've done, and the kind of value that you can offer and what you can bring to the team. So we can sort of picture it. We can picture the sort of person you are even before the interview stages. Then show some evidence and always include your why. And it's easy for everyone to say, I've got really good people skills, I'm a great team worker, but the evidence speaks for itself because anyone can write anything on paper. People can get their CVs and cover letters to be reviewed by others and improved when actually they didn't cover it themselves. So this is your opportunity to shine with your evidence and include your why. Your why is your passion, why you're going for the job, how the company culture and values align with what you're doing, your long-term vision, your long-term plans, why you've applied for it. Just generally, why are you passionate about the role? And then conclude with the skills and traits that make you stand out. And so this is when you can talk about the likes of certain skills that are, I guess, I wouldn't say unique to you, but certain skills that you're quite good at that you think will make the difference in terms of your application. And so you can just close off with this so that they can get a picture of how they can work with you. And it just ensures that, okay, this person is teachable because, they've indicated that they have these skills that can fit in here. So this is how we can work with them. This is how we can sort of fit them in this team. We can picture them. Actually, maybe the team they've applied for might not be the position that they will be best suited for them. Maybe the other team will be possible. So it just helps us to make some suggestions and just prepare for you really for the interview. I really like this quote by Dr. Anil Sinha. It says, communication skills are essential to share and convey our ideas and knowledge. They are the foundation for our success. If your skills are lacking, begin first by focusing on your listening skills. Then strengthen these and you'll be in a very solid position. Now, before I deep dive into interview skills and some key tips on how to, prepare for CEM interviews, I'd just like to say listening is very, very important because it ensures that you're able to tailor your answers to what you're being asked. Sometimes challenges that we experience with early careers are they've just rehearsed everything so well that when it comes to the interview, they just want to regurgitate what they've rehearsed. And so they miss the question. You ask the question and say, maybe tell me a bit about yourself in this. And because it's so rehearsed, they don't actually hit the key points about what you're asking them about themselves. You're so focused on I'm just stuck with academia. That's all I've learned. So that's what I'm going to just stay in. But they want to know you. We are all humans. So who are you? Who is, if I say myself, who is Leslie Ann, just outside of academia, and in academia, in the workplace, just give us a picture of who you are, because it's a bit of an icebreaker, for example, before the interview starts, So when you're very tensed and you're not really listening, it makes the interview quite challenging. But before I move on to the interview skills, I just want to talk you through some of the points that I made in terms of the structure for the CEM applications, just so you get a bit of an idea, and I'm not just telling you, but then you get a feel for what I'm saying. So if I talk you through an example of the structure when I'm saying, tell us a bit about yourself, close off with your traits and things like that. I'll go, for example, maybe dear sir or madam, this is a cover letter setting, but it's just covering some of the points in the application that I'm talking about. So this dear sir or madam, following an advertisement on LinkedIn, I would like to register my interest for the position of a graduate safety engineer at company X, right? So you've just told them where you found the job from. You've told them what specific job you're going for, and you've just targeted it so they can tell. With some CEM jobs, sometimes there's so many variations of the same CEM job. So reference numbers help to pinpoint the exact role that you've gone for. So when you specify it in here, it's easy to sort of follow what kind of CEM role you've gone for. Then next is, as an engineering professional, my drive for each project is the ability to ensure the safety of teams through effective quality control and assurance processes by incorporating marginal gains through line of sight awareness, not only for client satisfaction, but to also impact personnel security. So now you've given us a bit of an insight of who you are, even though you're a graduate safety engineer. You want to tell us some of the engineering, encounters that you've come across. So in here, you're talking about, safety, because you are in safety, and you've told us about a bit of quality control and assurance. So we're like, okay, you do have some insight into how safety works and what kind of processes we need to go through for that. And you've gone as far as telling them what makes your quality control and assurance practices different. You've incorporated marginal gains, right? And you're specifically targeting line of sight awareness. So, okay, they know where to place you, and it shows that you've got focus. You know what to do. You are aware of, certain methodologies, for example, to use, and you're basically well versed in what you're applying for. And then you're going on to say client satisfaction matters to you. Personal security matters to you. This is your why you are doing it. Then moving on, upon my experience in rig inspections and safety management for over 2 years, my appetite for this field is ever growing. My aim is always to ensure that I can share best practices acquired throughout my career journey while picking up on new competencies to continuously deliver zero-margin safety procedures that govern the way work is completed on complex and critical sites. Now, I do understand that as students, you may not have 2 years experience, but that's okay. You can just give the exposure that you've had. If it's volunteering that you've done, if it's just working in other fields where, you've done a bit of safety work, not necessarily in engineering, maybe you've done some retail things where you've been drawn into some safety practices for where you work. You can also feed this in. This is the transferable skills that I'm talking about. But here you've just gone on to say to them, okay, this is my specialization. This is, what I can do. These are the best practices that I have. This is the career journey. But I'm also willing to open myself up to learn new competencies, because I understand that I'm an early career and I'm coming in and there's a lot that I have to learn. But also, I'm equally willing to contribute what I have, because I have some experience, in zero safety margins, for example, procedures. So you're just, telling them about, what your passion is in and what your expertise is in. Like, for example, complexity, like, and when I went through it, I talked about complex sites and critical sites. You've given me, okay, what you specialize in. So it gives me an idea of who you are and what you can do, even before I've met you at the interview. Then to conclude with, I've just said I have a lot of potential in people management for improved workplace safety, right? That I believe can be well nurtured by company X to make immense contributions towards the organization's quest to make a difference by making a positive impact on how people live and think about safety within their environments in the future. I would therefore like to put this passion to work for company X. Then, I therefore attach my CV for your attention and I look forward to hearing from you. So in this, what I've done at the end there is, this is the traits, the skills and the traits that I'm saying highlight. So here that highlight is, I have a lot of potential in people management for improved workplace safety. And you're saying this can be well nurtured. So you're willing for this to be polished. You're willing for this to be built upon. You're willing for this to be tailored for company X. And then you've shown that you've done your research on company X, because here I've added the mission of company X is to make immense contributions towards the organization's quest to make a difference by making a positive impact on how people live and think about safety, right? This is the mission of company X. So it shows I've gone to do some research about them and I've included it in my application. So this is what I mean when I'm saying, you can tailor your application to stand out in this way. So now we can move on to the interview skills. You just bear with me. Okay. So now I wanted to do a 60-second role play, but it's okay. We can just manage it where I'll just talk you through the answer so that you get a rough idea of what I'm talking about. So in an interview, you could be asked, what do you believe your key role here would entail? And what value would you add to the team? Now, I'm going to take you through some points. And again, I'll give you another example so you have an idea of what I'm trying to say. And bear in mind, you probably have 60 seconds to just, because of the role play, I've made it 60 seconds, but you may just have slightly more time in your interview. But let's just go for it. So I'd say just practice. It's really, really important to practice because we can tell when you've prepared for your interview or when you haven't prepared for it. Also, when you practice, you have the opportunity to know and see your bad communication habits so you can make a conscious effort to work on them. I guess for me, if I give you myself as an example, I used to do a lot. When I was uncomfortable with something, I'll just be like, this, that, and maybe, yeah. And so I had to just master that is not good communication practices. But it didn't come just like that. I had to practice it to know my bad communication habits and to make that conscious effort to say, when it's coming, I'm going to stop it. Or give myself some pauses. Pauses really help. When you notice that those words, that your comfort words are coming out, you could just pause. It's okay to have a short pause and carry on. It's not awkward because it's not a long, pause, if you like. But it just gives you that break that you need to just cut those comfort words out. You can then work on your delivery and body language. We want to engage you. I mean, in this day and age where some interviews are taking place on the laptop, for example, or virtually, you want to give as much body language as possible so that your interviewer is engaged and sees that you're enthusiastic, you're passionate about the role. I've gone to interviews where, I've asked, okay, so can you tell me about yourself? Yeah. Or can you tell me your name, confirm your name, so we can proceed? It's just Leslie, yeah. And surname, George. What are you applying for? Safety engineer. You become like a robot. We just want you to be yourself. So just relax and just, use your general body language and engage. You don't have to give one word answers because your interviewer is human as well. So we just want to be engaged, just like you speak with your friends, but obviously in a professional setting. But we just want you to be comfortable so that the interview can be, a smooth process, a rather smooth one. Then lastly, work on your content. If you have all the body language that you need the great delivery, the good communication skills, and your content is not great, unfortunately, you're not going to get very far with it. We need to know that, again, I keep coming back to research, but that's because it's very important. We need to know that you've researched the company, you understand the values, you know what the company stands for, and you know what you can bring, to the organization, and you're commercially aware of the industry generally, the chem industry, so that you can sort of tailor what we are going to ask you to it. And when we do ask you of things that, have popped up, in the media that you're used to, or things in the media that have popped up maybe over 24 hours before the interview, you should know this. You should do your research on this so you know it. Now, I'd like to cover some opportunities to develop your interview skills. You can join networks that allow you to observe and develop your interview skills. For me, at DMU, I joined the Mooting Club, and this really helped me with debates and, putting cases forward and being challenged for that. Online and in the virtual world now, we have the likes of Toastmasters as well. These are organizations that you can join on platforms such as Meetup, and then you can just go there and they give you, for example, tasks, and then you can just talk, and then they can give you feedback. They don't judge, they just try to help you in as much as they want to get helped as well, because they're there for you to give them feedback as well. So quite a few people go through it, and you just put yourself forward if you want them to help you with feedback. And it's quite detailed, actually. They take the time, and sometimes you have a lot of professionals on there who help with these skills. So you can make use of skills like these, and your careers department, of course. Then focus on clarity. Who are you? What do you do? What value do you bring? And what's the impact of this value? Then your why, your message, why you want this job, why you are at this interview in the first place, and why this organization in the first place. I have an example of a 60-second that I'm going to read so that you get the idea of what I'm talking about. So if I just bring that up briefly. So in this 60-second sort of pitch about what value I'm going to add to the company and what role do I think I'm going to do at the company, I go, hi, I'm LA, an academic and career development specialist. In joining the learning and development team at Company X, I will work with external organizations and educational institutions to ensure that students are able to thrive in academic writing, networking, mentorship, and employability skills. My aim will be to support organizations with early career transitions, competency, and soft skill development. According to the Mental Health Foundation, 60% of young adults in the UK feel stressed because of the pressure to succeed. Now, picture transition courses where young people are supported from their academic journeys through to their career pathways, where they are equipped with the soft skills to thrive as young leaders to improve retention rates at organizations. That is the value I will provide. Do I have your attention? So you can see here, I've told you a bit about myself in the 60-second pitch. And trust me, this is 60 seconds. I've just slowed it down, so I'm not going too fast for you here. But you have told them a bit about you and a bit about what you do. You have now listened because they said, what role do you think you're coming to do here? So here I'm talking about the learning and development team. I'm coming in there to join. And I've said there, the work that I'm going to do is work and liaise with external organizations and educational institutions as well. But why am I liaising with them? So that students are able to thrive in academic writing, networking, mentorship. I'm laying them out for you. So I'm just addressing the questions and I'm adding those examples so that you understand where I'm coming from. And then I've added my personal touch to tell you about my aim, to support organizations. And I've given you my why. It really means a lot to me that, 60% of young adults feel stressed because of the pressure to succeed. It's not good enough. It's not a good statistic. So this is my why, and this is why I'm trying to, help in this organization. And then I've just closed off by the value that I'm adding to the organization to improve the retention rates of early careers at this organization, and to equip young people who come into this organization with the soft skills to thrive as young leaders. And then I've just said, now this is the value. If it wasn't clear enough for you that this is the value, this is the value. So do I have your attention for what I've proposed? So that is the kind of 60-second pitch that I'm talking about, to just tell them, what you've been asked basically, and give them your why, and just put yourself in there, make it personable. So this is what I'm saying when I mean go for it. So if we move on then, now we can come up to these tips for good interview skills. Research comes up again because it's important, but I think I've given you enough of that so you understand why I'm saying research is important. So we can move on to preparing for the interview and communicating your transferable skills. Now, I found a methodology that tends to help me is the STAR methodology, which is just the situation, the task, the action, and the results. So what was the situation at hand? Like, what task was required? What action did you take? And what was the result? What was the outcome of what you did? I think in interviewing early careers and students, one thing that we find, they tend to miss something out of the STAR methodology. They might maybe miss the T, miss the R, but they actually go together. They go hand in hand, because you're just telling them, this is the problem that came about. This is my initiative that I took. And then my initiative worked. If it didn't work, what did you do about it? How did you turn things around? Because we understand things don't always go the way we want them to. But how did you ensure that things work out, even though they didn't go out? Well, they didn't go according to plan. Always end with a positive. Don't just end, okay, it didn't work. It didn't work out. I tried my best and it didn't work out. Then you really shouldn't be using that example, in this, in your interview, for example. So then, list your experience and your track record. Again, tell us your why, okay? And keep an open mind and bring your positive energy. We want to see that enthusiasm. And when I say keep an open mind, I'm saying if you come and you want to apply for a particular job, and then we find out actually you might be well suited for another position, perhaps the same role but in a different department, keep an open mind. Also keep an open mind for development opportunities. And always ask questions when prompted at the end of your interview. There's so many early careers and students that come to interviews and you ask, do you have any questions at the end for me? And they're like, nope, I think you've covered everything. If you're really passionate about an organization and you want to work for them, you should be bursting with questions, because you want to know what they offer you. You want to know the value they're offering you. You want to know the training opportunities that they have for you to grow, because you're looking long term. Remember, you've aligned your application to your visions and your goals, where you see yourself in 5 years' time. For example, if you want to be a director in 5 years' time, where are you seeing yourself? How can they help you get there? So you always need to ask questions so that we can see that you really want this job. One thing that I'd like to say about CEM interviews are they are typically task focused. And so they dwell on examples and experiences. So we can go, give me a time where you've encountered this issue in engineering, and how did you, solve the problem? Give me a situation where, there have been issues between two engineers, and how did you resolve it? Give me a time where you've come across this situation, or give me an example of some of the things that you've done with this software, for example. So it's very task heavy, and we need to see examples. So you need a lot of examples and experiences. So unlike other interviews where people just want to know about you, or your hiring manager just wants to know about you, we want to know about your tasks. And we just want to know that you're task oriented and how you've countered certain issues and challenges that come up because of the nature of engineering, the nature of computing. Things can just pop up at any time. So we just need to know that you're flexible, you're adaptable, you're able to approach certain things and you don't buckle under pressure, for example. So this is why it's sort of different and very task focused and heavy. So another quote that I rather like is by an unknown source, but I thought it was quite useful. It says, recognize your God-given talents, Work tirelessly to develop them into skills and use these skills to accomplish your goals. So recognize your talents, know yourself, and know your talents. Work tirelessly to develop them into skills. If you're not developing them, they will get rusty. You need to work at them constantly. You need to polish them. You need to improve these skills and use these skills to accomplish your goals. These skills have to do something for you. Don't just sit on your talent. If you're sharpening your skills, let them work for you. Let them work to help other people. How can you give back with your skills? So that is why I like this quote. Now, finally, 3 tips to build your professional skills. Know your stakeholder. Know how to approach them. Speak their language. Tailor your communication skills to each stakeholder. Now, sometimes in computing and engineering, for example, we can just, get sucked into terminologies and acronyms, that we use. If I say ILS to you, for example, you might not know what ILS is. So factor this in mind when you're dealing with each stakeholder. When you're dealing with a customer, for example, they might not understand what you're talking about. If you're dealing with your interviewer, for example, they may not understand certain terminologies that you've learned in academia, for example, or if it is that you've done some work or you've had some work experience, they might not understand those terminologies. So be courteous about this and explain it. Break it down in layman's terms based on your stakeholder. Sometimes it could just be an engineer interviewing you, so they understand the terminologies that you're using. But just make sure that you understand where each stakeholder is coming from. And as I indicated before, exercise your listening skills. Ensure that you can unpack what they require, not what you want to give them. Listen and target what they're asking you for their request. It really means a lot to people when you're able to do this. And some people also require different styles of communication. So some people might want you to delegate to them, for example, and then they carry on with what they're doing. So they prefer the laissez-faire approach. Some people might want you to coach them. And some people might just want you to hold their hand throughout the whole journey to help them. But then again, these are different preferences of different stakeholders. So being courteous of this goes a long way. Then the second tip, prepare to learn and develop your competencies. Be prepared to learn about how things are done before suggesting contributions and improvements. Sometimes when you come in as a student, as an early career candidate, you're so enthusiastic, you're passionate. Things are not, maybe sometimes things are not working the way you want them to. And you just want to jump in and make suggestions and contributions. But take the time to know the team. Take the time to spend some time with team members and understand the background of this problem. Because then you can go away and do some research and tailor, your solutions to it. You could have done some market research. You could have used some case studies that are out there so that when you make that recommendation of a suggestion, it's supported with the evidence that you need. And so that's the point that I make there when I say always use your evidence. You have taken the time to understand the problem before just jumping straight into it. Then know your desired outcome again and work back to achieve it. So I've already spoken about this, so I'm not going to dwell on this for long. But this is what I'm saying, if you know where you want to be in 5 years' time, what competency skills do you need to get there? What teams do you think you need to work with so that you can get the skills you require? Who do you need to network with so that you have more information about where you need to be? And in all this, you're developing your professional skills to build you up for where you want to be. And if things don't work out, just ask for feedback and come back better next time. Not all things work. We've all had the challenges where we've made mistakes and we've had to improve, but we've asked for 360 feedback. We've asked for opinions, we've asked for employee feedback, colleague feedback, your boss's feedback, your boss's feedback. And so these are things that you can sort of do to just be proactive about developing your professional skills. And finally, find opportunities to practice and build your professional skills. There's so many resources out there, networks, activities, certain summer internships, and certain platforms like LinkedIn where you can touch base with people and just pick their brains, and your careers department as well. But, you can make use of the likes of mentors. You can approach them on LinkedIn. I mean, networking is a whole different topic to be covered on how to approach them, because some people just approach directly, I want a job, and that's not how to do it. Just, put yourself in their shoes. If you've come to university for the first time, for example, and it's your first time meeting people and you want to make friends because you don't know people, you just come to freshers fair, there's an approach that you go through to get to know people, right? You don't just say, I want to be your friend. There's a way that you do it. So that same practice sort of applies to approaching mentors and industry experts, just to ask them, to support you and just to pick their brains about their career journey. Because you know what, it could actually cause them to open up their networks to you so that you can learn more professional skills from different people. And of course, your university's careers department for guidance, because they are always there to support you. That is why they are there at the university. So make use of them, because they are a great deal. I certainly made use of them, and that's how I came about my job really in engineering and technology. So I guess at this juncture, I'll just I want to allow for some questions. So this is the end of my presentation. I mean, you can always contact me. This is my website and this is my email address. But you know what? Danielle is always there, and Sarah is there as well. So you can go through them to contact me. So I'm open for questions. Okay, so lack of experience. Okay, so as a student, if you have a lack of experience, you can volunteer. There's so many volunteering opportunities for you to sort of work on your skills. So open yourself up. For example, if you go on STEM learning is just a site that just gets young people into STEM to give them the experience, to give them the exposure. So make the effort to look for volunteering opportunities so that you can get this and you can stay. Sometimes they also have these personal sessions where you can state the kind of skills that you're looking for so that they can tailor the kind of work experience for you as well. And your careers department can help with this as well, in terms of, helping you to sort of tailor yourself or find opportunities to give you this experience. There are also the likes of sandwich breaks, if you like. So if you want to take a gap year out, for example, to do that, I certainly did the gap year before I came to DMU. But in between, I believe in your second year, you can also take a year out to get this experience so that you can target the role that you want to go for. So I hope I've targeted your points on the lack of experience, because employers really do embrace volunteering opportunities because they are aware that you're early careers and you're students, so your experience is going to be limited, but at least we want to see the effort that you've done something. I hope I've answered your question. Okay. Online assessments are it's a different topic all the same. But one thing that I'd say is there are so many resources that allow you to, test this for free. What you realize is some students just leave it last minute and then they're trying to get everything in. It comes with practice. That's why they give you time as well. So what you can do is research about this organization. You can use the likes of Glassdoor. They will tell you what kind of organization you're applying for and what kind of assessment processes they go for. So even before you've applied for the organization, you know that they do online assessments. So you can start preparing even before you're selected for the interview, even before you're selected, to have a conversation, maybe a first interview or a second interview. So you're preparing ahead. You know that this is coming, and then you can practice. But I'd say if you don't practice for online assessments, it's quite difficult to get through. You can't do it last minute because they will find out that you've tried to do it last minute. But you know what? There are some people who are just so brainy and they're so good at this, so they can thrive at it. But I'll just say preparation counts. But do your research to know the kind of assessment that your employer or your potential employer goes for, so that you can start really with the end in mind. I hope I've answered this question too. Okay, language barrier. You know what, the thing about chem and STEM is, it's a broad field. And so there are people from different walks of life. You just have to ensure that you are, taking your time. If you know that you have a language barrier, you don't talk too fast and just go through the whole thing. Just take your time and make it known that, you know what, there might be a bit of a language barrier, so we know what to expect, so we have that extra time for you, so we know that you've stated this, so let's make room to accommodate you. Employers and hiring managers are always willing to, make exceptions, and also just accommodate people who need this support. So just state that there might be a language barrier and talk, at a good pace, so that we can understand you. And if we don't understand anything, we will always ask you, to come again. And if you don't understand anything from our end because it's our sort of accents or our language that you don't understand, then you can always ask to repeat the question. You can always ask for the question to be rephrased. We want to get the best. So, we just want to help as best as we can. So we always have your best interest at heart. So always have that in mind. How can you improve your problem solving skills? Okay, it starts by looking at problems around you. So, if I give myself as an example, I was always passionate about continuous improvement. And so I was looking for problems to improve, if you like. Sometimes nothing was broken. And so I say, like, it's not broken, I don't have the time. But because I was looking, I was able to take the time to do the research to say, you know what, this is the problem that needs to be improved. I know it's not broken, but if you think about it, if you improve it, this is the outcome. This is how much time you're going to save. This is how much money you're going to save. So look for the problem and try and do some research about how you can solve that problem. And try and speak to experts as well. This is where you pick the brains of industry experts, your mentors. They're all there to support you with that. So just find the problems that apply to your vision, your goals, and what you want to do in chem, and just align that with it. And then before you know it, you're able to start unpacking with the help and support of experts and subject matter experts as well. I hope I've answered this question. What can I do to maximize my time in first year? Okay, you don't want to waste it. I like that. I like that. So what you can do is, read ahead, engage your careers department, do your research on these organizations, network with people that work at these organizations, especially the role that you want to go for, and start picking their brains. And you know what? This is the start of your network, because they have you in mind and they know how you networked with them. They know that you're a first year student and you've already taken this proactive approach to, come to them already. It means you're really focused and you know what you want. So, and if you don't know what you want, they can actually help you shape that journey. So I'd say make the most out of your tutors. That's why they are there. Make the most out of your lectures, make the most out of your careers department, and look for all the resources that your university offers. Don't waste them, because there are so many. And sometimes they're actually in volunteering opportunities as well, from the likes of prospects.ac.uk, where they liaise with your university. So, you just want to hit the ground running and just make the most of it. So I hope I've answered this question. Have I faced any challenges being a woman in a male dominant industry? Yes, I have. I have. And it's not just being a woman, because I was mostly the youngest one in the room as well. I guess sometimes you're just thinking there are certain jobs that you can't do, so maybe it's best not to include you in them. But what I did is I came in and I built a rapport with the team. So I got to know them. I let them know that I'm not coming in, to just overtake what they're doing. I'm coming to learn about them. I'm coming to understand them. And I'm coming to improve what they're doing. As a project management professional, you sort of wear a lot of hats, so you're not just sitting down to say, what, I'm just engineering, so that's done. Sometimes I might have to wear legal hats. Sometimes I might have to wear commercial hats. Sometimes I might have to wear business hats. And so it's just the approach and showing them, when you are given the opportunity, that you have, you can bring different perspectives, you can bring different insights. And this also educates them, because then you get male change agents who are willing to vouch for you when you're not in the room. So what I'd say is just work to try and change the mentality. Come prepared, to say, this is me, this is what I can contribute. When given the opportunity, this is how I can change things for the better. But I guess sometimes it's just fear that brings about the challenges, because they're like, and we haven't seen someone like you of your kind in this before. That's why we don't even want to give you the chance to even fail or succeed. But when you understand, when you let them know that you understand that fear, and you're willing to work with them, and you're willing to build that relationship of trust, you will see that things begin to work, and people actually start to vouch for you when you're not even there. And when promotions come up, people talk about it, people put you forward even without you knowing it. So I would say it's just a matter of just helping to change the mentality, and also bringing others with you. When you've made it as a woman, ensure that you are helping others. So what I did is I put networks together, like graduate networks, and I was talking to them. What challenges do you face? How can you get help? How can I share my experiences? Which is why when I began, I said I share my industry experience, and then I share my career journey. I mentor young people and students. This is how I give back as well, to get more women in STEM, because I'm rather passionate about getting more. We need to see more women in STEM, because we do a great job. And so they need to understand that when we come into the likes of computing and engineering and the likes, it doesn't matter whether you're going to take a career break to have your children, and they think it's going to disrupt the project or the course. There's a lot more that you can bring that they can accommodate. And once they get this education piece, they're always willing to embrace you. So I hope I've answered that question. I understand that this is the final question. So thank you for your time today. It's been great, sharing my experiences with you today. I'm always open for further questions, through Danielle, through the university. I'm sure if you get in touch with them, they'll be able to get in touch with me on your behalf. And I'm always willing to support young women. So feel free to ask as many questions as you can. And I can also bring my network on board to answer certain questions that I may not be able to, like the media sector that I was telling you about to begin with as well. I have a lot of contacts in media. So if you have certain questions that I haven't addressed specifically for media as well, I can ask that on your behalf. But in terms of computing and engineering as well, I hope I've covered that to your satisfaction. So thank you, and that will be all. Thank you for your time.